Okay, well, why don't I call the order while we're getting the tech figured out? Is that okay? All right, we'll call the order at 9:11 a.m. and do a quick roll call. I know we've got all the members of the committee present, as well as Dr. Menzel, Ms. Crozier, Ms. Clough, Ms. Cruz, and of course Gladys, Miss Wagner, we have you, and Mr. Alafi. Am I missing anybody?
No, you're not.
Perfect. Perfect. All right. While we're waiting for Jeannie to log on, I think it's all right to do the meeting minutes. Can I get a motion to approve the prior meeting minutes?
I'll make a motion to approve.
All right, so move. Can I get a second?
Second.
Okay. Let's all right, can I'm going to call for the vote to approve the motion or to approve the meeting minutes. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any
Aye.
opposed? Okay, hearing none, motion carries. Okay, the only action item other than the meeting minutes on the agenda is reviewing the applicants for the vacant positions and recommending to the governing board. I do want Jeannie to be on for this. So
If
you know,
if she can't log into this, if she could call you, Sarah, and you could put her on speaker,
okay.
we would be able to hear her through your connection.
All right, let me do that. I'll just give her a call right now.
Thank you.
Yep, you got it. Okay, hopefully we won't get any reverb. Hey, Jeannie, this is Sarah. Yes, can everyone hear Jeannie on my phone?
We cannot. Can you put her on speaker?
She is.
Oh, that's
Boo, technology. All right, maybe if I hold it up closer to my screen, I don't know.
let's have her talk again and see.
Okay, try it again, Jeannie. Talk loud.
Okay, can everyone hear me? And I'll just talk a little louder.
That
Okay,
will work.
I'm getting
Yeah.
perfect. I'm getting a thumbs up, and I'm just gonna have to hold you close to the screen. Okay, so
Okay.
we have 10 applicants for, or 12, pardon me. We have 12 applicants for the single position of audit committee member. I very quickly, my understanding is, and Dr. Menzel, please correct me if I'm wrong, is that the audit committee makes a recommendation to the governing board, and then the governing board is the one who appoints the member. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Okay, and then what is the timeline for the governing board? When is their next meeting?
January 6th. So we'll plan to have your recommendation on that agenda for January 6th.
Okay, perfect. Okay. I think as we were, we have a lot more candidates this time than we did, than we have at any other time. And, it seems like a difficult selection process based on at least what I've been reviewing. So there were a couple of things I was looking at, and I just wanted to ground the committee on a few things. One of which is, the audit committee charter has a couple of guidelines around how we appoint new members and the qualifications for new members. And there are two things that stuck out to me as I was reviewing the resumes. One of them is, and we all know this, the committee charter requires us to be independent. And that's at paragraph 1A of the committee charter. The other thing is, the committee charter requires that the committee as a collective have audit, finance, industry knowledge, IT knowledge, legal, governance, risk, and control knowledge. So it's a very specific set of skills that as a committee we need to collectively own. That's paragraph 1D of the audit committee charter. So with that said, I thought before we started talking about specific candidates, I wanted to have a bigger conversation about the eligibility of a couple of people who applied from the perspective of independence. And where I'm going with this is we had a couple of employees apply. And when we have an audit charter that requires us to maintain independence from the district, I wanted to open a conversation with the committee over whether it was appropriate to have employees appointed to the committee. So I'd love to just open that topic for discussion.
Jason, just real quick will say that's a no. Like, I just don't think there's I mean, the conflict there is just too deep and straight. It's just like, I appreciate their desire to be involved, certainly, but I just don't think there's you can't square that circle at all.
Jeannie and Mike, do you have any thoughts on that?
I'd agree with what Jason said.
Different trust, but the self-insurance trust says basically that you can only have one employee on the board, and that it's, in that case, it's the CFO, but that is one of the things that's specifically written into the trust, self-insurance trust charter, is that and so that kind of spells it out very clearly. So that might be something to think about in the future for this charter.
Okay, Jeannie, can you talk again? I'm going to try to hold you up to the mic.
Okay, and Sarah, if you're the only one that can hear me, maybe just repeat it. But
Okay.
I with Jason, I appreciate, staff members applying. However, I do feel also too, there was some very good candidates that had much better qualifications.
Okay. Jeannie said she appreciates the staff members, but thinks that other candidates. Okay, good. Everyone heard.
We can hear her. Okay.
Okay, perfect. I think with that, then we can, I'm in agreement with the piece on the conflict of interest. I think with that, then we can narrow down the group to remove the 2 employees who applied, which were Deanna Baldwin and Denise Anguiano. So that leaves us with a pool of 10 candidates. And I wanted to talk through first the sort of second thing I brought up, which was that the audit, I'm sorry. Oh, sorry, I thought someone said something, which is that the audit committee charter. I'm sorry, what was that?
It's an echo, so we just need to make sure people mute when they're not talking.
Okay. I keep getting distracted by it. I'm sorry. The second thing I brought up, which is that we as a collective should be able to have a broad range of skills, but the charter itself requires us to have experience in audit, finance, the industry, IT, law, governance, risk, and control. I kind of want to throw it out for discussion about whether there are other candidates that we can rule out based on this requirement, so that we can sort of continue to narrow down our selections. Be happy to hear from anyone on the committee who has thoughts about that.
Just a quick question. I don't have the list of candidates. Was that distributed?
I think it was, but I think the thought on this, Mike, was that because you would be voting on it as a member of the governing board, that the other non-governing board members of the committee would make the recommendation.
I'm totally fine with that. I just was in the dark because I haven't seen any lists.
Oh, well, let this be an exciting surprise for you then.
The reveal.
So, Jason or Jeannie, are there any other candidates that you saw when you were examining their applications that you felt like didn't fit within this requirement of having the requisite skill or having the right set of skills, because we already have certain skill sets on the audit committee that would be duplicative?
Yes, I did. And I'll just throw out 3 names and people can comment however they want. I hope I'm pronouncing this correctly. Uday Dada. The next person, Katie Grubb. And the next person, Jolie Fontana Black. I just didn't think that, at least based on their answers, they were as qualified anywhere near the other candidates. Does anyone else have thoughts on that?
Jason, what are your thoughts? Did you hear Jeannie? Oh, you're on mute.
Sorry. Yes, I did. I have to confess, I didn't see that list and I'm looking for it right now, but did it come from Gladys or did it come from you, Sarah?
It did not.
Came from me.
It came from Shannon, yeah.
Oh, Shannon. Okay.
And Mike, I'm sending you the information right now.
So I will, Jeannie, I had some of the same folks on my list as well. I didn't think Jolie Fontana Black or Katie Grubb were listed their qualifications on their applications in a way that would be meaningful for us to determine whether they were a good fit. I slightly disagreed with you, Day, because he's a CPA, but my take on him was a little different because I don't know that his skill set is something that is encompassed by what, our charter says, because he's a data scientist. Obviously nothing against data scientists, but we do have some data science experience on the board already. And so, or on the committee already. So I felt like that was probably not a cohesive fit as well. So I'm in agreement with you there. The other two people I had on my list were Matthew Ruth and Elizabeth Rodriguez. Elizabeth, because her primary area of expertise is HR, and that's not specifically called out in our charter. Matthew, I have to go back and look at my notes for what my take on Matthew. I thought, bear with me for a second. I tried to keep really good notes and now I've got them all in a bundle. Matthew. It wasn't clear to me what Matthew's expertise was in the audit space. He had talked about risk management at American Express, but it wasn't clear that he had any specific knowledge from an audit perspective. So that's why I included him on my list as well of people I thought their expertise wasn't necessarily a good fit for what we're looking for.
I agree.
Okay. Jason, if you have the email in front of you, by the way, Jeannie just said she agreed. So sorry if I haven't held that up close enough to the speaker. Jason, have you had a chance to grab the email?
Shannon, which email address did you send it to? And I apologize that I have so many, but I've got entities that are.
Just sent it, and I sent it to jklonowski5@gmail.com.
Oh no, that one doesn't exist. That's probably my team's email, but if you have it at that's one I created for Gmail, but I never use it. So I apologize if that's why that's where it was sent. Just jklonowski@cox.net is my personal one. That's probably best for that to go to.
Okay.
Do you have that one in there?
I don't now, but I did before,
Okay.
but I don't now.
Yeah. All right. Thanks. Sorry about that, folks.
No worries. Jason,
Okay.
I just forwarded.
Should just got gone through.
Okay, so it looks to me like from, and Jason, obviously you have to take a look. But
Yeah.
It looks to me like there are from that list of candidates that we've sort of talked about, excluding the employees, and then this group that is 5 people that we think probably doesn't have the right skill set. The remaining we've got 5 remaining candidates. Andrew Twiggs, who works on IT process improvement, Brian McCrae, who works in credit risk for a financial institution, Benjamin White, who is the head of corporate audit at a $1 billion company, Derek Hampshire, who is a licensed CPA and also runs healthcare audit and compliance for Honor Health, and Glenn Evans, who is a CPA and is at KPMG. So those seem to be the 5 candidates that have remained after this conversation. Is everyone copacetic that that's where we are? Okay.
Yes.
Okay, Jeannie, do you want to maybe, since you've had a chance to look at it, want to kind of talk through those 5 candidates and your thoughts on how you rank those then?
So, yes. So Sarah, I would remove, at least for me, Andrew Twiggs. I've got his application pulled up. His answers are very limited. It just says IT auditing. I don't really know, what that means, where he works. I just, again, felt the other people were more qualified. So I personally would remove him.
I'm going to, by the way, if you didn't hear, Jeannie recommended removing Andrew Twiggs because of the brevity of his application. Jason is giving a thumbs up. I also agree. That's where I landed as well. Okay, so Well, this is really efficient. We're now down to 4 candidates. That's work. So we've got Brian McCrae, Benjamin White, Derek Hampshire, and Glenn Evans.
Okay. So I'll tell you that I had Glenn Evans and Benjamin White in my top 3. Did anyone else have that as well?
Yes, I had them both in my top 3.
Okay, so let's leave them there for just a minute. I mean, there. What do you, Brian? What about Brian? Hampshire?
Okay, Jason, do you want to chime in?
Shannon's still trying to get me the information. I trust that you all are narrowing this down well, and as soon as I can view their apps, I will opine. But if we could just hold off on making the final decision until I get to see them. I guess my question would be, is anything clearly evident about their apps where it's like, oh, this person took the time to go above and beyond, and or are their qualifications based on our needs so clear that we should discuss, your favorite candidate, Sarah?
Yeah,
Jason, sorry, Sarah. Jason, I just sent you the applications.
Thank you.
I sent them as well. So hopefully between the 3 of us, one of us has broken through. I think from my perspective, and I'll talk first, there were 3 candidates who were licensed CPAs. There was the one that we already talked about, who was the data scientist, who were probably not the right skill set for what we're looking for. Derek Hampshire, the gentleman who works at Honor Health, who does healthcare audit and compliance, and Glenn Evans, who works at KPMG, who does financial audits, right? And then there was, so, we've got Derek and Glenn, who have healthcare and financial audit experience, respectively. And then Benjamin White, who has operational audit experience because he's the head of corporate audit. He didn't list whatever firm he was at. But from those, I would say Ben has experience in the nonprofit space, in board work experience, in the arts space. Derek doesn't have as broad experience because his concentration is healthcare. Glenn, also not as broad experience from an operational audit perspective because his concentration is financial audit. From my perspective, all 3 of them look qualified for this role. And I was actually getting stuck on, the application itself is, the questions are what they are. But I was having a hard time because they all seem extremely qualified. And I was doing the best I could to parse and differentiate between them and figure out, like, okay, is there a gap in our knowledge set that we want, to fill with a finance audit person like Glenn, or with a healthcare audit person like Derek, or with an operational audit person like Ben or Benjamin. I shouldn't call him Ben because I don't know if that's how he goes. And I was sort of left with the opinion that any of the 3 of them would be excellent candidates. So how do we differentiate without talking to them?
But I would ask the question, immediately 2 things came to mind. One, we don't know who one of them works for, and that's always kind of a red flag in terms of like, hey, I just need to know, who you work for, like what you're actually doing on a day. I understand that your skill sets are your skill sets based on this application, but without sort of, doing a quote unquote background check. But like Honor Health, to me, I mean, obviously healthcare is an issue that faces this district, or is going to face this district in making that big a decision. And I also think that inside the healthcare industry, they deal with big numbers and big decisions. And so you almost have multiple skill sets by working in that industry. And he disclosed who it is. And Honor Health is clearly one of the largest employers in town, in the state. So I'm naturally drawn to that, but that's just my opinion in 3 minutes. If someone knows him and says, yeah, that guy's a bad person. Obviously that would outweigh any opinion I have on a piece of paper, but you know, that's my thought just off the top of my head. And I don't know if anyone else has any opinion on that.
Jeannie, what are your thoughts?
Jason, did you look at the application from Glenn Evans?
Oh, you're on mute still. Jason.
Yeah, I'm opening it again right now. I did look at it.
And
Go
I
ahead.
also like Dr. Menzel. Do you have any thoughts? Did you look just okay with? I'm just curious if you looked at any of these applications and do you have any thoughts? I'd appreciate your input.
So I appreciate the question. I did review the applicants, but because I want to ensure the independence of the committee, I don't have a recommendation. I will say that I think you've narrowed the pool in a way that I think is appropriate, and I don't know of any disqualifying variables for the three that are under consideration now. So I think we could support any one of the three based on the committee's recommendation.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Yeah. I mean, I'm anxious to make a decision and I'd like to make one today, but I almost wonder if the committee would be supportive of interviewing it's three gentlemen, interviewing these three folks, just so we can try to differentiate between them further.
With that,
I think that's a great idea. I mean, I don't want to overplay the significance of this job,
Right.
but always having a conversation with somebody gives you some direct knowledge of their mindset and just who they are.
And I want to be fair too in our consideration. And it's hard to be fair on the paper without it. Every other time that we've done this, I felt like there has been someone who clearly had the skill set to do this in a differentiated way than every other applicant. This is the first time where I felt like we have a pool of candidates who could all do it. Dr. Menzel, what are your thoughts on that? Like, I'm happy to raise my hand and have a 15-minute phone conversation with each of these gentlemen and just say, hey, why are you interested? And then report back to the committee. But that then takes us, I mean, we've got to do it quickly to make sure that we make an appropriate recommendation to the board by January.
So I think that is easier. I was just reaching out to Jennifer McLennan. I think that if the committee itself was interviewing, it would be subject to open meeting law where you'd have to post, have 24-hour notice, and that would all then be out in the open. An individual conversation with the chair of the committee to gather additional information and report back, that I think would be appropriate and also help with the time consideration. And then what I would recommend is we look at, can we schedule another Teams meeting, hopefully with less challenge to get everybody on, because it would be pretty brief in nature, but do it before the end of next week, and we could still then get it on the agenda for January 6th.
Jeannie and Jason, are you comfortable with that?
I am, but I do have a question. Knowing open meeting law, could a second person be on that call without it pinwheeling into an open meeting violation? And I say that just because Sarah becomes our single point of failure, which is fine. I trust Sarah entirely, but if the law allows for a second person to be on the call, that might be okay as well. And I'm not advocating for myself. It could be Jeannie, it could be Mike, it could be whoever. I'm just wondering if that's legal.
I believe it is, but I'll confirm with council before we proceed with that.
Does that make sense, Sarah, just to have a second set of ears on it?
Yeah, I'm totally fine with that.
And, and we can, Jeannie, I don't know if you want to do it. I'm happy to do it. I don't know if Mike's allowed to do it based on your interpretation of independence. Scott, what's your thought on that?
Yeah, I think in this case, and we've discussed it previously, the board member who's on the audit committee doesn't cast a vote at the audit committee for the recommendation since they're voting on the final decision.
All right, well then, Sarah, when you schedule the appointments, if you want to throw an email out to Jeannie and I, and then we'll agree, either one of us will do them all, or if availability is that, oh, I can't, but you can, then we'll just ping pong it.
Perfect. Shannon, would it be possible for you to get me the email addresses for Glenn, Benjamin, and Derek.
Yes, I can
Okay.
absolutely do that. Yep.
Perfect. And then I'll reach out to them and we'll get some time on the calendar, like super early next week. And maybe we can do our committee, follow-up Teams call next Friday this time, if possible. Okay. Sounds like, do I need a motion to go forward with this plan, or is it okay to punt the decision until after we've had these conversations?
It's okay to punt it at this juncture, since there's no action coming out of this. But we do have on the next agenda item talking about other meetings. It works
Yep.
perfectly.
All right, well, let's slide directly into that. By the way, thanks everyone, and Jeannie and Jason, I'll work with Shannon to get these gentlemen's email addresses and calendars, and then I'll coordinate in a way. Scott, once I get confirmation from you that it's okay to have 2 ears on the call, I'll coordinate that in the way that's appropriate. All right. So the final topic on the agenda is future meetings. Okay, discuss potential meeting before the next scheduled meeting on March 13th, 2026. Okay, so our next scheduled meeting is March 13th, 2026. But obviously, since we just had this conversation, we want to talk about having an interim meeting next week. Is the committee comfortable with doing the same time as this meeting, but next Friday? So March,
Checking my
sorry,
checking my
December
calendar
19th.
real quick.
Perfect. December 19th, 9 a.m. Jeannie, does that work for you?
Yes, that's fine.
Okay, and then we'll wait for Jason to check his calendar. Dr. Menzel, does that work for you?
I will make it work. Absolutely.
Thank you. And Mike, does that work for you as well? Thank you.
And Jason said yes. So
All right. Thumbs up on that one. And then, okay, so we will plan a meeting 9 a.m. December 19th. With the only agenda item being making a recommendation to the governing board for the next slot for the audit committee. Okay.
So the other thing that I wanted the committee to weigh in on is we're waiting for the audit on the prescription drug conversation, as well as updates from a couple of the other prior audits. And I don't know that we should wait until March 13th to have those conversations. I think there are some other things that are also likely emerging topics of conversation with the audit committee. So whether it's in January or February, I'd like us to explore a potential additional meeting before that March meeting, if the committee is willing.
Yeah, we're getting a thumbs up from Jason. Jeannie, are you willing?
Yeah,
Okay.
and I'm glad you brought that up, Dr. On the minutes from our last meeting, there was some, discussion that I think we're supposed to be had at this meeting that, aren't going to happen, and that's fine. So that was going to be my question to, when were we going to have those additional discussions? So just tell me a date and I'll make it work.
Okay, Mike, are you comfortable having an interim meeting before March?
Yep, works for me.
Okay, perfect. I think probably the sooner the better. As the committee probably is aware, but I'll fill you in. I did present our audit plan to the governing board in October. The governing board approved it. So we do have approval to go forward with the cash handling audit, which, we probably want to get started, but also we need those updates for the other meetings. So I'd want to also add an agenda item for discussion of getting the cash handling audit started. My preference would be to meet in January. I think the sooner we meet, the better. Let's pull calendars. Dr. Menzel, is there a Friday in January that works best for the folks who need to be present from the district?
I think the 16th or the 23rd could work.
All right, why don't we just round the horn to the committee? 9 a.m. on the 16th or the 23rd. Mike, can you make either one of those?
They're both a little spotty for me, so go to the rest of them first.
Okay. Jeannie, January 16th or January 23rd, is there either one of those dates you cannot make?
Either one's fine. I'll make it work.
Okay. Jason?
I'm open both as of now.
Okay. I'm also open for both. Mike, if there is, like, does a different time work better for you or
The 16th at 10 o'clock instead of 9 o'clock.
okay.
Great.
Why don't we round the horn on that? Jason, does that work for you? At 16th at 10 a.m.? He says yes. Jeannie, does that work for you?
Yes.
Okay. Dr. Menzel, does that work? Okay, you were on mute,
Yes,
but
it
I
does.
okay.
Yes.
So January 16th, 10 a.m.
Thank you all for accommodating. I appreciate that.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Okay.
Hold on.
My preference is always that we do in person, but considering it's a meeting that we're adding to the calendar, if there's someone who can't make it in person, we can talk about having them join via Zoom.
Yes. I just wondered if it was going to be all Zoom or in person. So thank you.
I would strongly recommend in person. I'm expecting that we'll bring some other things for consideration in terms of emerging issues that I think are important for the committee to consider as we look at what the plan is. And there may be some need to have some additional conversations. So I would hope we could do it in person, but we'll definitely have a remote option for those who may need it.
That's perfect. We'll put that on the agenda as well. Discussion of emerging issues. Okay, so we've got the marching orders for the committee selection, which is interviewing these folks early next week. Hopefully we can get them. Meeting on next Friday at 9, and then follow-up meeting to cover some of the outstanding audit items and potential emerging issues on January 16th at 10 a.m. I think that's all we have on the agenda. And it looks like we're, sorry, so much easier for me in person. I don't know how, I'm like trying to corral my phone and all these papers, and I'm not doing a great job. Okay, that's it. Can I get a motion to adjourn?
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Jason will second.
I got 3 motions in 1 second, so that works. How about Jeannie moves, Jason seconds. All in favor, please say aye.
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 Okay, any opposed? All right, hearing none, the meeting is adjourned at 9:44 a.m. Thank you, everybody. I really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thanks, Sarah.
Appreciate you all.
Appreciate you.
We'll talk soon. Jeannie, are you still there?